Hi. So in November of 2019, towards the end of the month, my husband passed away. And recently I've been getting some questions on how it is that I'm handling grief through a time of quarantine and coronavirus and everything that's going on in the world. So today I'm going to answer those questions and let you know exactly how I personally am getting through grief. I'm Jody with Enlighten Ya. If you like this video today, please hit like and subscribe. First, I would like to say that my husband did not die suddenly. He had cancer for 8 years. He suffered from a disease called multiple myeloma, which is cancer of the bone marrow. And before he passed, he was in a tremendous amount of pain. The last month and a half or so of his life was extremely challenging. And actually the last 4 years have been quite an up and down battle of him trying to fight and get over this particular disease. Through the 8 years that he's done this, he has never gone into remission, and he's been in constant chemo every single week. Sometimes we would have something that he would take every 2 weeks, but it's been doctor appointments and all of that for all of that time. He handled everything with such grace and beauty and humor, and most of the time was in really good spirits. Now, anyone who knows anyone that's going through cancer knows that there's a lot of medication that they have to take, and there were some that changed his personality quite drastically the last few years of his life. And that was a challenge for him and our family and everybody. If he had died quite suddenly, let's say he was in a car accident or he had died of a heart attack, I would imagine that my grief would be far different. And it's not that I don't wish that he were still alive, I do. But there's no way that I could imagine seeing him suffer the way that he was suffering as he had in the last several months of his life. I and my children understand this and also know what he would want, and that is for us to move forward and be happy. And in my life, and even through his illness, it wasn't always about regrets and looking back and blaming anybody, blaming God, blaming the world, blaming anything for what he had. It was a matter of us both knowing that this is something that's a part of our life now and figuring out how to move forward. We both really did believe that he would find a cure, and it is not a curable cancer at this time. So we were hopeful, and he was hopeful very much up until the very end. And we did everything we could, the best doctors that we could possibly find in the world, he went to see. But he ended up passing away. So now there's this grief that I myself and my children are dealing with. And the only way that I can tell you that we personally have dealt with this, and I am not going to tell anyone in the world how they should deal with grief, because grief is extremely personal. It's how it hits you. If I were crying every single day for 4 years, that would be my business. And if I choose not to cry every single day for 4 years, then that is also my business. So Craig and my life was not ever looking on the past and having regrets. It was forward thinking, forward movement always. We were able to forgive each other if we got into arguments and move beyond them. It's not a matter of just who we are, it was a choice that we made. And he and I discussed a lot about him passing because we had 8 years to discuss the fact that he had terminal cancer. So what he really wanted for us was not to sit in grief and not to be sad and suffering all the time. Now, really what it also means is that I can just love him now without seeing him suffer. And to me, that is a beautiful thing. So moving forward has not been easy. I have picked my entire family up, sold our house, and moved across the country. And that hasn't been easy for me or for my girls or any of us. And it's been a lot of times when I just wish he was here. I wish he was here to help me tell me where to put things, or help with things that I'm not quite strong enough for, or knowing that unpacking houses has gone twice as fast when there's 2 adults in the place. And I do miss him very much. I miss his humor, and I miss his passion for life and for everything. And it's not easy. There is nothing easy about any of this. And my friends, I've had good friends that have made it easier for me because they've been there for me. And I appreciate that so very, very much. And the family that has been there for me. And I appreciate that so much. And even those family members and those friends that can't be there for me, I still appreciate them in my life. Even though they don't know how to deal with me, I understand. And I understand that completely. And the only thing I can say is that when I'm sad, I let myself be sad. And moving forward is just me accepting the fact that life is meant to be lived. And my husband wanted that. And there's no way in the world that he ever won't be a part of me. When I really miss him, I think, well, what would he do right now? And then that is what I do. Or if my kids ask me a question, I would answer it. Sometimes, well, Dad would say this. So that's your answer. So we keep him alive that way. It doesn't really matter how I'm grieving. It doesn't matter. No matter what I choose to do as a grieving person, then that has to be okay. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. And I don't care if people think that I should have this 6-month waiting period where I'm wearing black and sad and doing whatever because they feel that that's more appropriate. It doesn't really matter to me. And I've also recently received the question of, how can I be so happy I must be in a relationship with someone else? Why can't I just be in a relationship with myself? Why can't I just be in a relationship with my kids and my family and be happy that way? I don't need someone else to fulfill me. And certainly, I don't need to be jumping into another romantic relationship when I just went through something so traumatic. Now, if you know somebody who's grieving and they have jumped into another relationship, that is how they chose to cope. No matter what anybody in any way, shape, or form is doing as a grieving person, they should be allowed to grieve in the way that they need to. Now, I would imagine that at some point things can possibly get excessive and they need extra help, but just be aware of the help that they need. So, how do I cope? I just do. I just do. I'm very present in the moment. I am very focused on moving into our new house and getting everything worked out. I'm focused on my business. And I really, really enjoy helping other people too. So that is how I cope. Never, never, never would I tell another person how they should cope with grief. And I really just want it to be said that no one's ever going to be able to tell me how I cope with it either. So I hope this message is good for somebody out there. Thank you so much for listening. And if you like this message, please hit like and subscribe. And thanks again for being here. Bye.